What's up, team? Welcome to the Huddle. We're your weekly playbook where we not only strategize on playing the game, but changing it. From mastering the fundamentals of the craft to distinguishing ourselves in the marketplace. We're here to give the installer a voice and ensure you're equipped with everything you need. Let's band together and forge a new legacy in flooring. This is where you belong. Welcome to the team. Much better, much better, much better. Sorry we're late, everybody. If you're on here, had a few technical difficulties.
Just a
As
couple.
you can see, Daniel's head down right now, trying to get everything. Him and Ashlyn are working their tails off to get this thing live streamed. So, what's up, fellas?
What's
What's
going on,
going on,
brother? How
man?
you doing?
How was vacation?
Dude, it was pretty sweet. It was pretty sweet. We caught a bunch of fish, went up to northern Saskatchewan to my buddy's place called Eno Lake Lodge,
Boom.
way up. And I tell you what, it was the first time I got to see the northern lights. That was
Really?
pretty freaking crazy.
We got to see him from my house this year.
You did? I
Yep.
just never gotten to see them. I've been up there a couple of times to the lodge and never caught them. And then I don't know if it was the first night or second night, um, they just came through and the pictures are crazy.
I bet you they looked way better from where you were at than my house anyway.
They were
Aurora
pretty,
Borealis.
it was pretty crazy. I'm gonna do an upload and share some of them, but yeah, so we're gonna debunk some flooring myths today. Is that right?
We're gonna try see.
We're gonna give our input.
Give our input. Let's establish some. I'm not showing that we're live over on my side. Are
It's
you?
showing,
Yep.
yeah, it's showing live over
Okay.
here.
All right. Well, I don't know.
What platforms? I don't know.
Maybe I'm a guest today because it's on all socials it's showing we are live. All right. Well,
Lost.
I can't see any of my controls, so I can't see anybody chatting. You have to call them out if there's anybody because I
You
can't
know what?
see
You're
any
right.
chat.
I have zero chat.
What's up? Well, I guess Daniel, do you have chat over on your
I
side?
have everything on my side. We're good.
All right, very good. That's going to be just handy dandy. All right. So, number one flooring myth that I can think of swirls around moisture
Oh
and
yeah.
the lack of the need to moisture test an old slab. And I know we went over this with in our moisture mitigation kind of podcast several weeks back, but it continues. The mystery continues, at least in the general contractor's minds, and I hope all of our audience out there who may be dealing with this, a GC saying, "Well, uh, the slab's 40 years old." Well, that's all the more need to
Well,
test the doggone thing
that's
because
the thing. It's always they say the slab's really old. It doesn't need to be tested, or the slab's brand new. It doesn't need to be tested. It's like
Or this stuff's been down for 30 years and it's doing just fine.
yeah, well, best I can tell you is follow the rules, gentlemen. We know that as flooring professionals, we need to test these slabs, particularly if it's getting a moisture sensitive flooring, like an LVT, sheet vinyl, those kinds of products. And but I still, between our last podcast and now, that has come up again, that it's an old slab. Uh, it had a resilient product on it before, and why do we need to test the floor? So obviously, if you were with us during that podcast, but the likelihood, I forget who was our guest on that. Do you remember, Daniel?
Seth
Uh,
Kavarnik
Oh, it was
yeah, it
Seth.
was Seth and the
and
other
Jared
guy.
Lockwood from Uteen.
Yes,
Jared.
yep. So they said it straight up, but I don't remember the percentage, but the likelihood of you having an intact
Vapor
vapor barrier
retarder.
under that, yeah, under that slab, even if they put one originally, is like there's no chance. Like
I
it's
lost a,
if it
a
was
video.
it was deteriorated.
I had a video from some the house I moved into a few years ago, and up top in the rafters in the garage, they had some plastic wrapped around some carpet, like they were trying to save it, right? And I went to grab it, and it like flaked apart. Like I could scrape the whole thing off of the carpet, like it was dandruff, and it was like in a bag. It was like a bag, and it was just
Yeah.
I know it was pretty thin, but that just showed exactly what happens to it over time.
Yeah, and imagine it with several tons sitting on it and moving around from the earth over 40 years. So obviously, this is a low hanging fruit as far as a myth, but that is continually brought up. Um, I've even heard flooring guys say it in the past, and I'm like, dude, that's not true.
And the
you need
crazy
to
thing
test
is that they're like super proud of it when they're like, I don't moisture test anything.
Yeah.
it. Well, there's a heck of a lot of risk and no reason not to test it. I mean, you should charge for it and test it,
Takes
get your
time.
results back. I mean,
Well,
but
that just makes them get another certification. So,
yeah, but they're so
Oh,
easy. Go on to Wagner Meters, get you one. Pretty easy to get a certification there, guys. And also, you know, get Floor Cloud. If nothing else,
yeah.
those kinds of that product right there will help you with not only the site monitoring, but you can set your moisture tests and then Bluetooth those two together, and you can get your results right back at your office. So, or on your cell phone if you're an installer that's following the moisture testing. So, um, I had one texted to me. Flooring is easy.
Uh, that's a good one, brother. Because
I
you
think
know
it
what?
comes from the one floor that seems to be pretty easy. Click
Clickety
together
clickety.
LVT. But you still have to know. I mean, tell me, Daniel, what you got to know to put together, click
dude,
together LVT properly.
I hate click together LVT. Like, so that's one of the things that I had on the list was floating floors are always easier to install, right? But then at the same time, another myth is that they're foolproof because they're not. I think there's a lot more math is involved because you're dealing with the logging mechanism as like a glue down plank. I can shrink it and then, piece it in and take an eighth inch off and you'll never notice.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this a little bit more because there's several things that I think need to be brought up. Your floor. This could be a myth on its own. We do have gravity on our side. Yes,
Yeah.
that's about it, Nate. Um, the uh, the myth. This could be its own myth by itself, which is that you don't have to have as much floor prep for solid core click together products. I can tell you that if you have undulations in your floor, whether it be a hardwood or a wood substrate or a concrete substrate, what happens with a big valley on this product if you just loose lay over a big old, like a
It's
big
going to
hole,
boing,
or
boing, 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 boing.
and then the clicking mechanism breaks
Yeah. Well,
and you get a
yeah.
gap, or
You
it
got the
starts
deflection.
delaminating, uh, all kinds of stuff. I've seen it happen on plenty of projects. One of my own, RPM didn't, I mean, we've changed our tune and we glue. If it's a click together floor, we can't find a good alternate to, from a style perspective, and do a full glue. We'll glue that sucker down. We're not loose laying anything anymore. And that's eh, and if you have depressions in your floor or high spots, you still need to take care of those almost
Yep.
better, really, because you get hollow spots, you get deflection in your floor, which breaks those mechanisms. Just take one of those quick tongues and go like that with it. See what happens.
You don't even need to do
Well,
that. It's just like your finger sometimes, just a fingernail.
yeah,
It
and
breaks.
I tell people too when hey, my floor is failing, can you come and take a look at it? Oh, this was just installed a little while ago, and blah blah blah. I was like, well, what? Well, who installed it? Well, I did. And then you try to explain that to them, and no one ever understands until you say, remember the hangers? You take a metal hanger and you don't have wire cutters. You just bend it, bend it, bend it until it breaks. That's what your locking mechanism is doing. That's what
Yeah,
happens over time on the deflection. And then they
I
go,
have a,
oh,
just to
makes
show
sense.
that the flooring is not easy in this regard in particular. I had a general contractor. He was a carpenter um, that had moved up in the ranks, and he was field ops manager for one of my GCs. He installed his own floor. He had seen it 100 times, and it failed miserably. And it was all the locking mechanism, and the retailer he bought the floor from telling him that it was a um, that it was not necessary to prep as well. So all you guys out there, any homeowners watching, you're gonna have to prep your floor. So it is not easy. That's the most important part of all of our products is having a proper substrate. So Roland, my trip was ridiculously great. I caught a bunch of fish. The travel, getting there was quite the adventure because it's far northern. Friends don't let friends float floors. That's good. Uh, the travel was, getting to the lodge up there is half the experience and journey. We take I got a fly to Edmonton. From there, I jump on a plane to Uranium City. I actually toured Uranium City, looked that place up. It's it's crazy. Went into the high school and you can see nature just taking. It's been about 30 years. I've got better facts now after doing the tour, but it's about 30, 40 years of the environment, just nature taking over, and there's trees growing up between the walls and the freaking uh, concrete slab. Like it's vines are everywhere, moss is growing all over it. If it was any of the wood structures, they've completely caved in, like the old houses and stuff. Anyway, we fly into Uranium City. We jump on a float plane and fly to the lodge. And then we jump on another float plane to go to the Northwest Territories to slay some big O pike. I took a client with me, and general contractor, a friend of mine, and he caught a 45-inch pike,
Holy smoke.
like almost 4 foot, dude. Second largest pike ever caught at the lodge. And check this out. He's never been pike fishing. He's done some cat fishing and noodling. He's a country boy.
I remember the first time I went
Yeah.
pike fishing with my uncle. That dude was like shaking the boat. It was just it was nothing special, right? Nothing like a motorboat. And I was so scared. I was like 8 years old. He's talking, these fish are going to eat me up. They tried to drop me in the water. It was actually pretty hilarious after the fact.
Yeah, so thanks for asking, Roland. It was fantastic, man. Just got back about an hour and a half ago. Already banged out a bid, and now I'm here with you fine fellas.
Well,
Talking
thanks for
about
joining us.
floors.
Talking about floors. The other thing about this whole thing, it not being easy, um, and the floating floors and all this stuff is, you know, putting them together, getting the locking mechanism done right is not elementary. I've seen so many times it just starts spreading because they didn't get it fully locked in.
Well, there's so many locking mechanisms out there that you have to deal with now. You have to know
Yeah.
exactly what you're doing, what product you're working with, what locking mechanism.
Yeah,
I can tell you
floating.
I could tell you one that I don't care for, but that's another story.
Yeah, I
Um,
won't throw any manufacturers
oh,
under the
I'm
bus
not.
here, but I would tell you that most of the locking mechanism stuff, just floating locking floating floors, you really it's not just a floor prep. That's one thing, and that takes a real professional to level a floor and get it actually done right. Then you have expansion and retraction stuff. So if you go over a 25-foot span, you got to have an expansion joint. And many people don't do that. They don't even think about it. And I had an architect spec a floating floor in an assisted living down these 200-foot hallways. I'm
Oh,
like, well,
oh,
obviously we're going to run at the length, but do you realize that every 20 to 25 foot, I'm going to have to put an expansion joint in here, and all the accessories, you can get them to match, but nobody wants to go over a big old hump
A
when
hump
right.
you're
every
in an
25
assisted
feet.
living. Yeah, what are we pushing there, right?
Well,
A
that's
bunch
the
of
Yeah,
thing
there's
too.
wheelchairs.
solutions.
Even a floating floor in a commercial application in general, it's not the best idea, right?
Just not
Because
a good idea. I'm not doing it. We quit doing it. We're gonna if you got a click together floor, well, and we can't cross it to a full glue down product, we'll still glue that sucker down.
yeah, I went and looked at a project and he was like, this other company came and gave me, some samples. And he was like, these bathrooms flood all the time. So I just want to do like an epoxy or something. I was like, oh, yeah, we can do epoxy. He was like, this other company brought me some click together floor. And I asked him what company.
Freaking waterproof, dude.
It was a
Waterproof.
residential company. And that, yeah, they told him that it'd be no big deal. But I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
that
waterproof.
that drain floods and then,
Man, that waterproof word, you know what? That's the one word too.
That's
I
a
actually
myth.
have that one written down. That's a myth and a half. Like, I
Yeah,
really
okay.
hate,
water resistant,
yes, yeah, water resistant is one, right? But the way that it's explained to the consumer,
the way that
um,
it's sold
yeah, sold to the consumer, like I have to,
or marketed rather, right? Marketed to the consumer.
there you go, market it. Yeah, it's just, I hate being the one to explain it to them, but I have to explain it to them because they have that, they already have that in their head that I'm buying this because it's waterproof. It says it right here. It says, I'm like, you're right.
Well,
That piece itself is waterproof. If I dip that single piece in there and I bring it out, if as long as it's intact, it's waterproof. It to an extent, but it's not giving you a waterproof floor like you think it's going to.
Right. And then Rollins says they let you go 60 to 80 foot without one. And deflection is a floating floor's enemy. And I think a lot of people, because on the notes,
that kind
it,
of
it
depends on how
also,
big the area is, Roland, because it's usually most of them, it's like 2,500 square foot
Square feet, yeah.
is another thing and hey, you got to be damn near a professional just to read the install instructions and understand what all they're trying to tell you. But the gapping and the expansion retraction, if you got an area that's bigger than 2,500 square foot, you got to have half-inch expansion around the perimeters.
I
So
remember seeing the specs the
at
first time
least,
the SPC came out. Those specs surprised me. It said I can go, 100 by 100 or whatever when it came out, and I wish that the locking mechanisms weren't so booty on SPC because it was pretty sweet to be able to do that.
well,
But
Andy McWilliams explained that one really good, right? Like the thinner you go, the weaker the locking
yeah,
mechanism is going to be because they don't have that body there. Because I
correct.
mean, when we did the tour there, they kind of showed you a microscopic view of it, right? And you can still see an entire void in there. So when you're already that thin and you still have a void in there, it's going to be weaker. But I think the bigger thing, like he was talking about, is the deflection and people not realizing that you're supposed to have an inch of subfloor underneath a floating floor, and people just go over like the 3/4 inch on a regular basis, like it's no big deal.
Not
yeah.
even rigid, not even good wood, right? Like 3/4 inch. What do they
Particle
call it?
board.
Particle board or waffle or something like that. Something that already has deflection at its thickest. Um, and it's just and not even interlocking sometimes. Sometimes it's one of those homes where they just kind of slapped something down right away or did some repairs and didn't they didn't put any thought into the process.
No, and then
Well,
Nate says, I'll put the thing up again. The comment: crawling around for a couple hours gives you a whole lot of respect for babies. How do they keep on crawling for years? Man, ain't that the
I,
truth?
I
I
don't know
get them
what
babies
babies.
some pro knees, man.
I know, because it's not just to cushion your knee, right? It helps your back. It helps so much. Like, I didn't understand that by not wearing knee pads, it can mess my whole body up.
Out of
Yeah,
alignment.
and today's knee pads are way better. I mean, pro knee's been around for a long time, but when I first started installing, it was those hard shell, just knee pads you put on. They
The
pinch the
tile
back.
scratchers,
Yeah, and they
the
Now,
had the
sticky
soft shell.
scratchers.
They had the soft shell ones too.
but
I'd wear the hard shell when I was laying carpet because you can slide around real nice. But they had the soft shell ones too for when you're doing VCT and stuff. It only took me a few times when I was early on the install days to scratch up some nice VCT with my knee pads, putting on
learned my
vinyl
lesson on that
base
one too.
before I got the soft shells. But yeah,
Nowadays, when I crawl around, I just usually stand up.
well, the point here is that freaking
Meaning I'm not crawling. My bad.
the point here is that these products that are easy to put together, if you take two pieces and you put together, yes, that process is easy. But leveling your substrate, making sure you put your polyfilm down, or any,
Roll
if
on
you're
moisture barriers,
what about the
something.
where your crawl space is to your, like in residential stuff, if you're going over concrete floor, which again, I just glue it down with the high moisture adhesive to always, go back to your moisture readings and remember what Seth and them said, which I learned in that podcast, was it's not just that if the question about moisture mitigation is if it has a chance to get to 100. So without a vapor barrier, it will have a chance, and so you should moisture mitigate. That was a whole new kind of, you know, whole
Gotta be
new
pinpointed.
yeah, it was new to me. I honestly hadn't looked at it that way. I didn't know that that was the way the industry the manufacturers dealt with it. I
It
thought
changes.
that
It
you had
definitely
a
changes the way you look at it, right? Instead of
yeah,
looking at it what it is right now, it's does it have the chance? And that
it's
you're right.
95 now, but your slab is 40 years old. You should probably mitigate.
Yep.
That's
And then
that's the
he brought up
recommendation from the powers to
the high
be.
moisture adhesive, right? I have on here that any adhesive will work, right? Because there's been a lot of times where when we used to be on jobs and or talking to someone and they're like, I'm just gonna grab this adhesive and throw it down with this, and it's like, man, it's not what you should be doing. Like, there's
No,
different adhesives for different things, and like then there's also different, like it could be for the same product, different moisture tolerances.
for sure. So I think that myth is busted. Flooring isn't easy. Even the easier to assemble is not easy. Tiles, another example. Everybody, there was so many people I seen on social, like homeowners, like
Doing their
this
own
makes
hard
it,
tile.
yeah, and they're just using the spin doctors or, a leveling system of some sort that they got from Florida Core, Lowe's, or Home Depot, and they're like, this is easy,
So easy, just spot bonding it. This is so easy.
Dude, it's insane. Or they're not spot bonding it. You don't realize that how many hollow floors are out there because of that product. Um, you got to make sure your thin set. You get away with a little more if you're not going to be, you know, lifting it back off that thin set. your
Mm.
thin set can be maybe just a skosh a little bit drier than normal. Hell, you got to have a perfect bond so that when you level and pull that tile up level with the next one, that there's legs to your thin set.
Mm-hmm. Creates that
Otherwise,
suction.
all you did is pull it off the thin set, and now you have a hollow spot. And it's hollow. If it's ceramic tile, it's going to break because ceramic's really not that strong. Porcelain tile, a good 3/8 porcelain tile, probably lasts a long time before it breaks. 5/8 probably won't break, but still hollow. Still not going to last for as long as if it was done correctly. So some of these things we've talked about in previous podcasts of manufacturers and tool companies trying to engineer the skill out of some of the products because I think it all goes back to the shortage in quality labor. You know, get enough bad floors, they start trying to engineer out the failures. I don't know that that's working because 23 to 22, the failure rate or the overall dollars in failures did not change anything worth talking about. So flooring's
There's
not
one right
easy,
there.
folks. Hire a local professional flooring installer to do your project, and you'll be happy.
I like
It'd
this one.
be
This one's for all the GCs out there and the people who are actually in the construction. Is new concrete doesn't need prep. That's brand new concrete. What do you mean you got to skim the floor? What do you mean you got to encapsulate it? What do you mean you got to grind it, buff it? That's brand new.
yeah, and you over troweled it and looks like a sheet of glass, and the adhesive that we need to use for this particular product has to have some mechanical bond. You know, there's any number of things that go wrong with new concrete. Yeah, they got a vapor barrier, but the schedules cause a lot of that problem. You know, again,
Yep.
a lot of this stuff goes back to moisture and proper preparation of a job. I mean, you guys know it's like the stuff isn't, it looks easy. Even carpet tile has things you need to be concerned with, you know, and it's about as
Dude,
easy as it comes.
I'll never forget the first carpet tile project that we were part of that failed. This is years ago, right? And it was installing everything to spec, but all the edges started curling because of the way the material was stored. And then we installed it in a very large, wide open building, and everything came in. And I remember them telling us, "Hey, we got the manufacturer to send us a backbender." Like, what? A backbender? What?
Oh,
What do you mean? We got to peel it up, run it through the machine so it cups it, and then we install it again.
dude, you don't even have to say another word. I know who the manufacturer is, but don't say, I'm not going to say.
But don't say
Don't
it.
say it. But we need all you guys to support us, so we're not going
Yeah.
to call you out. If you want to start supporting us, though, we might. Just saying. No,
At some point, it's all going to come out in the wash, right? And I'm sure they've learned their lesson from that. It was a learning
It,
moment.
it's got
at
to
least
do
they
with
tried.
surface. It has to do with surface tension in the product. So, yeah, that damn HGTV is telling these homeowners they can do the flooring themselves, but fail to
Man, we were just
mention
talking
floor
about
prep
that.
and moisture.
Yeah, and we actually
Sonny,
our
that is,
episode in a couple weeks is going to be kind of focused on this topic itself.
yeah,
Just talked about that too.
HGTV has caused more flooring failures than than anybody because the you don't get to go back and look at. It's not like they go back and they're like, oh, you know that house we did on the flipper,
Yeah.
whatever show?
Had to replace everything.
We had to replace it all. You don't get to see that. I watch those shows and I cringe
The
sometimes.
thing about those shows too is you're watching it and they're like, they do everything in this amount of time, and then you go give someone a bid and they're like, I just watched this show and they did all their flooring in like 3 hours. What do you
It
mean
was
it's
Hey,
going
so
to take you
easy.
I
2 days?
I will
What?
say that being on set with Rollin a few times and learning the ins and the outs, um, what those crews are able to do with buildings in such a short amount of time. It's amazing. But
Yeah,
at the
but
same time,
you had somebody like Rollin
yeah,
with
he knows.
doing this. Like
Yeah,
you got Mr. Certified with you.
yeah. Well, I'm
Most of
talking
these
in
shows
general. In
have
general,
have a a carpenter putting it in, or they have the homeowner. I've seen a show where they were doing the deal and they were letting the homeowner do some of the demo, um, and do some of the stuff like whatever they felt like they could do, and they were like, oh, we think we can do the tile backsplash, and we think we can do the LVT, and they're in there putting LVP in and trying to figure out how to cut around door jams, and it's like
oh no, they
there's no
figured it
perfect.
out. They figured it
Oh
out.
yeah, I'm sure it's a beautiful floor. Well, if you actually care about your home and you want some of these products, look, we're not saying that it can't be done correctly. We're just saying have an actual professional installer do your floors, and you got a hell of a lot better chance of it working out for you in the long run. So flooring ain't easy, baby.
Yeah.
Pay up. You're an accountant. Do my taxes for free, Mr. Accountant. You know, I think that's the professional version is like doing
Dude,
your own
that's the
taxes.
original DIY right there. What's that
Doing your
tax?
own taxes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let the pros do that. And for any accountants out there thinking of doing their own floors, leave it to us.
That is hilarious.
All right, what's our next myth?
What about
Acclimation.
Oh, acclimation.
yeah.
Doesn't need to acclimate it, does it?
What's the myth about that one, Daniel? What's
You
the
don't
argument?
need to acclimate. What do you need to acclimate for? Like, especially on these we were talking about like click together and stuff. A lot of these are just just go in and throw it down, no acclimation needed. So why won't we just believe them?
Yeah, that I don't know. Maybe Sonny can chime in here because he's on all these, kind of on the
All
front line of a lot of these deals. But try and take an SPC or any floating floor out of a 100-degree warehouse and go put it in a 70-degree office the same
Yeah.
day and watch. It ain't. It's not a good scenario.
Well, and like
And
I'll give
even if it does pan out a time or two, you put enough humidity or something that's in the air, like it's going to sweat in between. It's just not a good thing. You should always acclimate your floor. That's my opinion. I don't care
and
what it is. I
I
mean,
will say
we'll pull it into our office to get it
at least
close
you're
if we
attempting,
can.
right? And like with us, we just delivered what, like 6 or 7 skids of LVT
oh
to the
my
job
goodness.
site. Oh, are you laughing at a comment that came through? I don't.
Yeah, I'm laughing.
that comment right there.
That's the one.
Shitty
Is that-
product category.
See, Sonny,
I
that's why
like
we're
it.
boys, bro. That's why we're
That's a
boys.
new
That
one.
right there.
Yeah, thermal dynamics. That is, you can't beat physics, folks. And quit getting sold these pipe dreams from
Science
a lot of
doesn't lie.
the manufacturers out there. So yeah, I think it's pretty clear that acclimation is. I mean, all you gotta do. It most of the products have. Well, you know what the other problem with all this is? A lot of that has recycled content and different. You
Mm,
never
Yeah,
know
they
what
don't
it's
even know
made
how it's
out
gonna
of.
react.
No, they
right.
they made a mix. It didn't need it. The bottom line is they don't know what's in it even because they get different raw materials from when I say raw materials, recycled materials to make these backings and these products out of, and they don't even truly know what's in that, magical pellet dust that they buy and make their products out of. So, Nate, you're hired. I'll volunteer to do some smacking.
He's Indian.
And then another one that I was looking at was heat welded vinyl is completely waterproof. Like
Well, there's a couple there. Waterproof, seamless.
like seamless. Yeah, it's flash coved, right? You think that it's not gonna have anywhere to get water in, but that's in all in who's doing it, because we've been in projects before where it's like they didn't do any vertical welding at all.
Yeah.
And these are in like areas where you can't have any bacteria growing or arboring, and it's just not good.
I will say, I will add to that. The way that I learned, and the way that Daniel was taught back in the day too, like
Was not right.
was not right. Let's just say that every corner had some sort of matching silicone or
Caulking.
caulk. Yeah, like we thought that was the way it was supposed to be done. You know, you don't know what you don't know. I remember,
Well,
and then learning was like, what? You can do that? You can? I didn't know.
yeah. Well, done properly, it's still a big ask for it to be completely waterproof and just mop like, you know, I don't know. You can always go into a lot of these hospitals and you see where the mop line is on the integral
Yeah,
base. It's like that far up, and they just you can just tell they're slopping whatever cleaning products they want on that. So
yeah.
maintenance doesn't matter is another one that I don't know if it's a
Oh,
myth, but it sure does come up a lot. Is like, well, I thought we just had to. No, you still have to clean your floor, man. Epoxy grout will still get dirty. You know, it may
We
not
put grout
stain.
sealer on it too, though. Like it's supposed to
Yeah,
stay clean.
I thought
why does
these
it have all
grouts.
these pee stains, man? Like it's not supposed
I
to
thought
do
these.
that. But look, I know it's pee.
Ex-
Smell it, scratch it, sniff it.
Yuck. Steam mops. That's good for the floor.
I
That's
yeah,
especially the LVP
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good for the floor.
and real wood. Like do
Let's
not.
run a thermodynamic product or a real wood product even, and let's just put frickin' steam
Introduce as
on it
much
every day.
moisture as we can into it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's open up the pores by getting the surface as hot as possible, and then
I had a
forcing
floor.
moisture around.
One of my floating floor like disasters was about a 2,500 square foot area, maybe 3,000 feet. And it was cafeteria walk through area for a corporation. It was in their, their food court, whatever. And it was not, it ended up curling and coming apart and all the joints broke. And it had nothing to do with the product or the installation. The floor was, we made sure the floor was nice and level. Everything was right, other than today I would glue that sucker down still or talk him into a different product. But the guy, we went and watched them clean it right after the lunch rush. And the guy goes back to the like boiler room to get like
Is it?
hot water and a mop. And he goes out there with a mop, and I'm talking 212 water,
Mm,
dunks it in, starts mopping.
it goes
And
when
it
it hits
took
it, it starts bubbling.
it took that floor through that expansion retraction, that thermodynamic, the thermoplastic product was just, it can't handle that kind of heat. And it ended up curling and failing because of that, obviously. But you know, he was like, well, it just cleans it so much better. Yeah, yeah, dude, you're using boiling water. It's going to clean it better. You got to do proper maintenance to your floor. Take care of it if you want it to last long. That goes from
Well,
carpet to hot water, extracting it, getting them oils and the dirt and the sand out of there that sits there. And every time you walk on it, that sand cuts little fibers. If you don't have a good vacuum, that's both residential and commercial. More so in residential because it's a cut pile, construction, and it doesn't affect the loop carpets as
Cleaned
much.
it to
But
death.
I would
Yeah,
say I would add to
exactly.
that maintenance thing and this might be a myth in its own, but to me, maintenance is probably more important than the initial installation, right? Because maintenance can, if it's a bad installation, it can kill it faster. If it's a great installation, it can still kill it. Like maintenance
Yeah,
is
I don't
very
think
important.
anything is more important than a proper installation, but I would say that if you can, just like you said, you can kill a great project by improperly maintaining it. Again, these marketing materials, not to shit on the manufacturers out there, but when it says on your binder in your office, no maintenance or low maintenance, it's like to the end user, what that
What
ends
that
up
means is
like,
I don't have to
I
clean it
don't
every
have to
day.
clean it. Or low maintenance means I can clean it every once in a while. No, if you want your floor to last, you got to take care of it. And you know, carpet's one of the biggest. It just gets matted like nothing. It turns into like, and people wear bare feet on the carpet, and those oils get in the carpet and mixes with all that. It get a what's that graphic? Um what am I trying to say? Like alert to the audience, going to get gross. But all that gets mixed
Disclaimer.
in with, yeah, disclaimer. It gets mixed in with dead skins and dirt and dust and just mats that carpet up.
I will say that anywhere I see Daniel walking barefoot, I make sure I put my shoes on.
He'll
Is
be all
that you
right.
don't want to walk on his oil? But it's true.
No,
You're not. It's best for your carpets if you do not, if you wear socks at least, or you do not walk on it
Well,
with bare feet.
we were just having a he had to deal with a client that he was like, there's something wrong with the carpet, and then he goes over there and he drags his feet. He's like, you just got to vacuum it more, man. You got to get those fibers back up.
yeah, it's like
Yeah, and who knows
he's
how
a
much, if you take a good vacuum, how many fibers you're going to capture in there. Uh, I would assume you guys aren't selling like staple products or something like that. You're probably selling continuous filament, one
we
product
we we
cut.
we try not to
But
sell anything that we wouldn't put in our house. So it's
yeah,
yeah, he just needed a little bit of a nudge in the right direction so he could understand it and why it was creating that.
yeah. So low maintenance floors do not mean no maintenance floors. It means take care of them. Don't use steam mops. Like if you'll read the install instruction or the maintenance care and maintenance, that is where the manufacturers really do come clean. They're like giving you not on their marketing material, but how to properly maintain the floor. They cover their everything in there because they'll that's what they point to if you're like, this is not doing well, and a homeowner calls and there's a claim, or an end user calls and there's a claim, they're always going to go look at how are you maintaining that floor. That's the first
Yeah.
question I almost always get when we have a claim. How was it properly acclimated, blah blah blah, did you who installed it, and was it installed properly, and some install background, and then how's it being maintained.
Yeah, I
So
mean, in their warranty documentation, they have how you're supposed to, well, that you need to follow their maintenance plan in their maintenance manual.
yeah, so none of it's that easy.
So here's one for the salesman out there, right? Because we've dealt with this a few times, that like tile size and roll sizes doesn't affect installation difficulty.
Yeah,
We've had it where salespeople are like, you're gonna do this 20 foot right here, and then no seam, but you got to go through this 3 foot door, and then another 25 feet.
Dude, it's like, are you serious, dude? Like how we do it all the time. I'm like, okay, how does that job look? You
so
got to
they're
drop
dropping
30
it
foot
through,
through. Yeah, they're
dropping
dropping
it
it
through a door.
through a door, a 3 foot doorway, dropping another, like you said, 25 feet, right? Then you have a 3 foot door, and then you have to drop another 25 feet through that door.
that's
I'm
that's just crazy
exaggerating, but
talk.
that's what it seems
Yeah,
like. Like
that's still
that's
crazy
what my
talk.
brain does. And then
Crazy
the
talk.
large format.
I
What do
know
you mean you can't
those.
put that on here? The floor goes like this.
Yeah, as with almost everything, when we start talking about install, it shows you how much it matters to properly prep the floor. You almost have to be a chemist to make sure you got the right adhesives that if you're gonna, have a glue down product, and maintenance, like all these things matter, and it normally boils down to proper prep, proper, leveling the floor, moisture control situation. So making sure you know the moisture, and that's another thing. A lot of homeowners don't think they need to worry about moisture. Well, if you have a freaking crawl space that's only 15 inches from the ground level to the bottom of your wood, and you have no the bait, that crawl space is not taken care of, and waterproofed, you're going to get moisture coming up through that wood substrate and into your products. So even with
Yeah.
wood floors, you guys, especially in older homes that have really small crawl spaces, you got to worry about that. So,
I had a gentleman recently actually that did an add-on to his house, and he added on over an existing sidewalk or like concrete that he had there for like their like back patio. And I said, well, this is what I'm going to have to do because you're going to like, I guarantee you they didn't put a vapor barrier underneath your sidewalk. And now you have all this
mhm.
finished wood and everything's all high end, looks super nice. And I just made some recommendations, and he didn't really enjoy what I had to say about his ideas, but
Most don't.
yeah,
You,
it's
you,
just trying to protect his investment for him, man. I was trying to help him out.
sure. That's most of the time when you're trying to deal with these things. The you you got to make sure you got a good project team if you're in the commercial world, and that the GCs like understands that, like, I'm not trying to. We're not banking over here on these issues. We just soon come in, lay our
Lay
product, and
it
be
and
done
leave.
and be gone, man. We don't want to have to level floors and mitigate moisture and deal
Man,
with all these things. Like, we just soon come in and do flooring. But 6 months down the road, get a failure, you get a problem, who's getting the first call? We are. So we have to bring those things up, or else, yeah, I agree, Nate. That's like 90% of it. I think a lot of the problem, at least with retailers that I've talked to, like retail installers, is that salesmen don't do that.
They
A lot of
they
salesmen
they
at a lot of
promise the
retail places
world.
don't do it, and they just want the sell because everybody's paid on commission, or most of them. And so if the store down the street will sell it to them in a kind of, I don't know, maybe an unethical manner, then you got to do it. Well, that's a plague of the retail world. And commercial, we got the architects and things in the in between that at least have some common sense to listen, I think, for the most part. I'm not saying all the time, but there's a lot of times when they'll actually listen to you, especially if you've been around a long time and you're a good flooring contractor and got a good
yeah,
reputation. They'll listen to you if you say, "Hey, this is the deal." But going back to your myth, Daniel, we got a job we're bidding right now. I got to be real careful because it's in the bidding process and everything. But we have a job right now where an architect, it's a big open area, and
Uh-oh. He was about to tell a
let me
real good
finish his
story
sentence.
too.
Let me finish his sentence. Big open area, and it is open, and it's got floors going in.
I wonder if his computer died. It probably did.
Well, I guess
Ash says, "What
uh,
the hell?"
yeah, we can't put hers on there, can we? Um,
No.
what about some other things that
That new concrete doesn't need prep.
yeah
And like, we talked about it not needing moisture testing, but when we always, why do you need to do so much prep when this is brand new concrete? When, that story that I told about being on the job site with the GC and then being like, it's a half-inch difference from me to you, and you're only
Yeah,
6 foot away from me.
dude. Yeah, I know. There's so many of that. So much of that. They just, what's funny? It's like it always comes back down on the flooring installer, and they don't ever want to back charge anybody else, right? But we have to deal with all the problems. We always have to be we always got to be the bearer of bad news. We are just the messenger at the end of the project, you guys, when it comes to stuff like that.
Told you his computer died.
Yeah, my computer just totally died, and it's been plugged in. I'm kind of worried about that at the moment, so I'm back. Can't get rid of me that easy. Although I do think that the gods are looking out for me to keep me from saying whatever I was about to say about that
Look,
God.
this is what
I'm
Sonny
just
said
gonna
right here.
leave that alone.
Sonny said,
I'm not even gonna say anything else.
Your
It just has
customer
to.
cut you off.
That's right.
Cut you off.
Someone was watching.
We filled it. We filled it. We finished your
because and then we started talking about how brand new concrete doesn't need any prep because it's brand new.
Yeah, this had to do with tile size and how people budget things for not
For
considering tile
Yeah.
for tile size. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going any deeper. I feel like I just maybe got saved for no reason at all. My computer shut off, so I'm just going to shut up on that one.
I will say, like, when we did the podcast with the gentleman from overseas, I'm drawing a total blank on his name.
Tom.
Right now. Tom.
Oh,
yes.
Tom Cockrell.
And he said we just self-level every job. Like,
yeah, I'd love that. I wish that was that. What conference were we at that Shernock's guy said the same thing. He said he came over to America when he brought Shernock's from Germany. He's like, you remember that?
Yep, that was FCICA, I believe.
Yeah, he was like, they just like kind of rough trial everything in with the broom, and then you go in and prime and self level everything all the time. Yeah, I'd love self leveling if it was that way. Like we'd just buy pumps and like that'd just be part of the business.
Pump it up.
Has anybody? This is not a flooring myth, but has anybody used Shernock's moisture like
resistant?
Not resistant. It's like it's moisture proofing, like mitigation and leveling at the same time. Has anybody used that?
We have not used that.
Known about it for a few years, and
comment if you've used that. If any of our audience has used that, comment and tell me what you think. I've got a job coming up where the concrete slab is horrendous. It's a newer slab. Sounds like the slab got away from the concrete guys. But on top of that, it is testing high. And I'm like, well, if I can kill two birds with one stone.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if anybody's got any.
I'll get Shane out here one time so he could talk about that stuff, because with the way he explained it, like he told me about it a while ago. He said there's some things in the works and this is what it might be. And then once it was released, he was like, "Hey, come here. I got to tell you something."
It's released, isn't it? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Matter of fact,
I want to try.
I think there's a
If you're watching us on any of our socials, let us know if you've used that product and let me know what you think, what your experience has been.
Do we have a link to that webinar coming up, Daniel?
It's FP, and I'm looking it up right here.
I got a notification today about it. That'd be a good one for people to sit in on.
That's through the FCICA, right?
Yep. And you don't have to be a member to watch it. You might have to pay a little something, but
it's like $25 or something. I don't even know.
So they're going to have a webinar on it?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily on it, but Shane is going to be speaking on this webinar. Yeah, presenter. It's this Thursday, actually.
Oh, sweet. They record those too, so for anybody who wants to go back and watch them in the future, and
if you can't make the FCICA webinars, they record them all and you can get access to them. So sweet. All right. Well, hey, we only get through a few of the myths because we get kind of deep into it. But I think what we've learned today is acclimation is necessary. Flooring ain't easy, and
And it's
level
not
your
waterproof.
and it's not waterproof. And you better know how to floor prep if you really want to install flooring correctly.
Right. And then we touched on it, but make sure that you know how to heat weld too when you're talking about doing vinyl floors and rubber and all that. Because
Especially your inside corners where a lot of guys try to get away with just silicone or
right.
I mean, you know, I'm
I
guilty of
just
it. So I'm not dogging nobody. I'm just as guilty as anybody over the years. But it should be welded, and I know that there are some inside corners that are it's doggone near impossible due to other factors. But it is what it is. If you catch us on our YouTube channel, please give us a like and subscribe. Let us know that you're enjoying the content. Feel free to suggest topics that you guys want to hear, topics that interest you. Doesn't always have to be about flooring. We have a good network of professionals. If you feel like, accounting, we had an accountant on before. We've had, personal well-being, for lack of a better way to say it, yeah. So if you got a topic, it doesn't just have to be about flooring. Let us know what you guys want to see. Catch us on one of the socials,
and
Facebook or whatever.
as
Interact
these
with us.
episodes are like put online, if there's one that catches your eye and it's like, I really want to talk to you guys on that one, I'd like to be on that one, just reach out, man. We'll get you on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amen.
That's what it's there for.
And then
Well, just
go
ahead.
in about a month, we got the Spanish episode coming up too.
Sweet. Yep. Spanish episode is going to be great for all our Spanish speaking crews out there that like to listen to us ramble. You can listen in native language when Jorge and I think Jesus Jorge for sure, but they're going to be
And Jose.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Jose. Yeah. So, yeah, make sure to tune in for that. And one final plug for FCICA and CFI is coming up really quick. It's just in October in Orlando. So we got about a little over a month out now. So if you guys don't have travel plans, get them booked. Come down and see us. Come hang out. And, I might even get down there a day or two early. I know that CFI would really like to see some of the local crews. So if you're down in the Orlando area, come on over. We're going to rock it out. One other thing, CFI, a lot of the guys have gotten together and I think this is going to be for next year, going to be doing a fantasy football league, and all the proceeds are going to sponsoring some installers to go to a convention, which is pretty freaking cool. And so hopefully we get a good turnout there and make some money and get to sponsor some people. So just trying to get it to where everybody can get involved, get in the industry. If nothing else, reach out to Rollin and start a local chapter. If you're a carpenter or, a vinyl guy, and start a local CFI chapter, do this kind of things to get involved. You can always reach out to any of the training entities for training opportunities. Go to Go Carrera's website and go to training and check out all the training options there. We just onboarded all of Ardex's stuff. So, get trained and get paid, man. That's the easiest way I can tell you is getting trained and proving it. That's where Go Carrera comes in. You get your free profile on there, and you don't have to do work on the platform, but you can get your hammer rating and prove to your customers that you stand out above the rest, man. So get on, join the movement. Our entry or intro into this podcast is true. We're trying to forge a new legacy in flooring, and that's one based on quality and getting paid what you're worth. All we got to do is prove it, and then we can get paid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you have a project that you're really proud of, make sure you go to floortrendsmag.com and submit your project to be in the installation awards. I think that deadline is coming up pretty quick.
Yeah, that's cool.
August 29th you have to
Ooh.
enter, so make sure you get your projects in there.
Got 9 days, 8 days.
Got plenty of time. Throw your
Stop
projects
talking
in
about
and
it and be about it.
be about it. All right, guys, it's a pleasure as always. To the audience, thank you for joining us today. And it looks like Efren's going to be joining on the Spanish-speaking episodes coming up as well. So, yeah, tune in, boys. Until next week, peace.